I was going through textbook. I really wasn't doing any talking. Try Japan Language Factory. It worked for me because I had gone through all of the book.
Hi, James. Welcome to my YouTube channel. How you feel?
I'm feeling good. Thank you, Terumi. And how
Great.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very excited. All right. So, can you a little bit introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. My name's James. I'm working in Japan right now as a assistant language teacher at a junior high school. I'm originally from Colorado in the United States, and I came to Japan about 7 months ago. I'd been here before to visit, but this is my first time working in Japan, and it's been an experience.
Amazing. So, what was the reason you actually moved to Japan? How you come? How you end up in Japan?
The reason I came to Japan uh, to work was I had come to visit about 5 years ago, back in 2015, after a friend of mine had done a college exchange here in Japan and had told me all about it. So I wanted to come take a look at the country, see what he was talking about, and really just enjoyed the life in Japan that I had on, a vacation, if you will. And I really wanted to come back and try working and living here in Japan.
Oh, I see. So, when you start living, how you felt like a few weeks, first few weeks or few months, how you felt?
I felt very overwhelmed. There was a lot of culture shock. Um, even though I had been here before, there was still a lot of things that I didn't know, and it was really overwhelming, but it was a lot of fun.
What was the biggest culture shock?
Oh boy. I would say probably the setting up the apartment. My company set up the apartment, but I still had to do some of the signing up for gas, electricity, and going going to the post office to open a bank account. That was very
Oh my
very strange.
God. So you did it everything by yourself?
Uh, a couple of things I did by myself, but my company did have somebody come along and help me with the more complicated things. But the the time that my gas was being hooked up, I had just gotten to my apartment, and the man came to hook up the gas, and the Japanese assistant, the translator, hadn't arrived yet. So it was quite a bit tricky.
So it's very different from the States, how you set up the house.
How it was set up was fairly different, and obviously just not knowing language was a big difficulty. It was just, not being able to talk with the gentleman who was hooking up the gas, and I know he was trying to explain things about the gas, but yeah, very very big differences.
Mm-hmm. I see. So that time, he was explaining everything in Japanese to you?
Yes, yes, he was explaining everything in Japanese, and I understood a little bit here and there, but the
Mm-hmm.
vast majority I didn't understand at all.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, this is very interesting. And then what is the best thing in Japan for you?
Oh, what is the best thing? That is a very
Mm.
difficult question. I I honestly really love just walking around and enjoying the nature, the city. I live kind of in the suburbs, so I have
Mm.
rice fields on one side and then sky rises on the other. But the best the best thing would be how peaceful it is,
Mm-hmm.
even in a really big city.
Mm-hmm. Great. Sometimes you go to Tokyo?
Yes, this last summer, uh, I did go to Tokyo several times, and when I was here before, I was actually staying in Ikebukuro, so kind of inside
Hmm.
Tokyo itself.
Nice. And so now you are living suburb, and how do you like it? Like, do you like the life like a little? I am sure it's really quiet.
I I do like the life here in the suburbs. It is
Mm.
quiet, and it it's a bit friendlier, I guess. I don't
Mm.
want to say that Tokyo isn't friendly,
Mm.
but I see more of the same faces every week.
Oh, that's true. Yes, Tokyo, you see it's totally different people every day, and then of course you don't remember even who was it. But
Right.
in the countryside, you start even recognizing the neighbors, I guess.
Yes, yes, very true.
So you said it, you live in Japan for seven months, right? Right now, right? And like
Yes.
so the language difference is gonna be a huge. And then when actually you felt like you need to learn Japanese, and then what did you try when you start feeling like you need to learn Japanese?
When I started trying to learn Japanese, before starting at Japanese Language Factory, I was going through textbooks. I bought four books for studying for the JLPT N4, and I was trying to memorize grammar. I've got a grammar dictionary. I've got a kanji dictionary. A lot of books, and I really wasn't doing any talking because that's not part of the JLPT test. So a lot of book study and a lot of just listening to CDs that are very clear and very precise and not very realistic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, so language learning itself, it's really common, and the formal way to start up the learning language is of course a textbook. So which is of course you did it, some textbook study, and then everybody know that is this is something is very traditional and a very right way to study. And but it's what do you think like when you start doing this textbook, and what was the difficulty for you when you study with the textbooks?
the the difficulty I had studying with textbooks was I never knew when I was actually doing something wrong.
Mm.
I I would learn this this verb conjugation, but only in this sentence or that sentence, and I would never have any idea of where to use that in real life. I went through the Genki Jacks one book about 5 times cover to cover, just going through and writing everything and reading, but I could never get any of it to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, yeah, I do totally understand. So you really back and forth, you try a lot of things, and but when you try to maybe go out and then you really want to talk something, what was like a difficulty in front of the people?
So, a difficulty I would have would be having a sentence memorized in my head, going and saying that sentence to someone, and then just getting a blank stare, and then trying to repeat the sentence and then have the person I'm talking to just kind of stop and try and answer in English, which kind of defeated the purpose in talking Japanese. The textbooks have such an odd way of, well, it's perfectly fine, I guess, for writing, but it's different for speaking.
You have been making amazing progress. Impressed because whenever join my group session, you really talk. I can see your confidence. It's amazing, really. And so, can you tell me what you have been doing with Ichihiro and also with Japan Language Factory? Can you tell me?
So, what I've been doing with Chihiro Sensei and the Japanese Language Factory, um, well, we have our sessions once or twice a week, and have been making short conversations or situations and creating sentences that I can use in different situations. Um, one of my friends and I were going to the movies. So before that, Chihiro and I came up with some sentences for me to say and how to possibly discuss the movie in Japanese. And I've been trying to memorize all of those, but also, switch words around. And I'll come to the meetings with Chihiro and, ask her questions of, can I use this statement like this or in this situation? And, she will correct me on that. Outside of the meetings, I've just been trying to throw it out there, to just talk to people and remember the phrases that are, how do you say this in Japanese? What does this mean? Can you please say it again? Just trying to remember those key phrases have helped me a lot, and having those memorized correctly, which is something I hadn't had before.
Amazing, amazing. So like James, can you like tell me some, phrases that you learn with Japan Language Factory, phrases that you use often?
Okay, so one of the ones I use a lot, especially in my job with teaching, is asking my fellow teachers, "Do you imi desu ka?" What does this mean?
Yeah.
Just try and remember either the word or the phrase that I couldn't identify, and just asking them that, and もう一度言ってもらってもいいですか? Being able to ask properly to say it again, please, because that was one of the big things when I first started out. Is I would ask somebody to say it again, and they would either freeze or just try and repeat it in English, and just having that proper phrase has helped immensely with interactions with people in general. One of the things is I can't eat eggs, so すみません、その料理卵を使ってますか? Does this dish use eggs? Is a great phrase for me, and if it does, oh, what other dish do you recommend? Trying to use those phrases, and interactions like that are really handy.
Definitely. This is very important, right?
Yeah. I won't die, but I'll be sick for the next couple of days.
So like, how did you actually survive this before master course? How did you survive without actually telling or communicate?
Rice and meat that I could identify.
So like, even you couldn't try.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that I learned the kanji for eggs. So whenever I was in the store, I would flip the packaging over and look at it and go, oh, can I eat this or that? Yeah. I think I can narrow it down to one experience I had. Is I went into the store shortly after learning もう一度言ってもらってもいいですか? And I had been having people in the supermarket and whatnot ask me different questions, and I'd asked numerous times to have them repeat it, and they would always repeat it in English, or they would just look at me with a blank stare. And I used that once at the local supermarket that I went to, and the lady just repeated the exact line that she had said before to me, and I was like, whoa, she actually understood what I wanted her to do, to just repeat it to me. That way I understand what you're saying. And just from there, it was like, okay, if I just actually start memorizing and just start trying to throw it out there, it'll get easier. And it has gotten easier, with Chihiro Sensei memorizing these phrases, and then every now and then something will happen in conversation at school or something, and I'll just throw out one of these phrases that I've overlearned and that we've practiced, and it just keeps the conversation going.
Amazing. Yeah. So like, one more time, let's think like what is actually really common language learning in the world, even not only Japanese, maybe in the future when you want to learn French or, Spanish or anything, it's it's always start up from textbook, alphabet, vocabulary, and grammar. So that's, majority of learning language. And then you actually really experiencing totally different in our school. So what do you think? What was actually the huge differences between them?
I would say the biggest difference between Japan Language Factory and learning from a textbook is the approach. The approach is very different. In the textbook, it's all about memorize these grammar points, TEF form, MOS form, dictionary form. And I don't think Shihiro Sensei and I have talked about verb forms at all. This is the verb you use when you want to ask somebody about this. And, we've used koto a lot as a verb ending, which I had never learned. And it's like, this seems like a very important verb to learn, but it doesn't come in until later in the textbooks because that's upper level or whatever. And Japan Language Factory, it's more useful, hands-on stuff you use every day.
So do you have any message to the people who maybe live in Japan more than 10 years, almost like they try everything about like Duolingo to old textbook, and then like they felt like, oh, I cannot do it. To the people who feeling like that, do you have any message to them?
I would say that, learning from a textbook is great if you want to read books, and, that's wonderful. But if you want to talk to somebody, you really need to actually practice speaking. I can read a book in Japanese anywhere in the world, but I can only speak to Japanese really in Japan. So speaking is the big part of being here. And I think that Japan Language School, by focusing on speaking being the main thing, really hits the nail on the head of what you need to know and what you need to learn. And I had no confidence in my speaking abilities month and a half ago before I started, and now I'm just walking into stores and asking where things are, or just asking questions. And even if I don't know 100% what they answered, I'm starting to realize that it's all building on the stuff that I have learned. So try Japan Language Factory. It worked for me because I had gone through all of the books.
Are you expat? Live in Japan? You started living in Japan, you're super excited to communicate with locals. You can enjoy traveling, meeting people. And then you start using this textbook and you feel like, wow, that's so many. Elementary school textbook, another elementary school textbook, and how many hours should you study? Let's think one more time. In order to communicate like a normal guy, you can do everything in the basic everyday life. Should you finish all those textbooks? Otherwise, you won't understand what they're talking. You cannot express yourself, anything. First of all, there are always two ways to learn languages. One is documentational language. The other one is conversational language. It's like, once upon a time, grandmother and grandfather are living somewhere. Or, hey, what's up? How's it going? Which is conversational. What is the most effective way to learn how to speak Japanese? Textbooks can't talk to you, so you cannot improve your listening skill and pronunciation, how to communicate. So why Japanese children can speak Japanese so quickly? Because they are learning conversational Japanese. The good news is, in Japan Language Factory, we have a specific learning structure to improve your conversational Japanese. So you can join the conversation, you can understand what they're talking, you can respond quickly, and express what you are thinking. If you want to be able to speak Japanese as soon as possible, join our free consultation to figure out what is the fastest way to start speaking Japanese.